President Lopez Obrador, sometimes known as AMLO, thank you for talking to Bloomberg. It's now a little bit more than 1 year since you were elected, and we will come back and talk about the economy in Mexico first. But let's begin with your noisy neighbor to the north, and Donald Trump. At the moment, Mexico has 20,000 National Guard on the border. You've also taken in 20,000 asylum seekers to come to Mexico who would otherwise be in America. And yet today, Secretary of State Pompeo said Mexico needs to do more. When you look at America, do you see it as an ally or as a bully?
Es un aliado.
He is an ally. We're not betting on politics of force, authoritarianism. We think of the solution to problems. We do not think that the solution to problems should be through coercion. We think of cooperation for development. That's what we're for.
Pensamos más en la cooperación para el desarrollo.
It is indispensable to have a good understanding with our neighbor, with the United States, because of matters related to friendship, culture, trade, commerce, the economy as well, and geopolitical relations as well.
Y por cuestiones de geopolítica. Tenemos 3,100.
We have 3,180 kilometers of border with the United States. If we were in any European country or South American country, perhaps we could try to have a different type of relationship with the United States. However, we're neighbors. And this neighborhood, this neighborliness, makes it mandatory for us to understand each other. And there's nothing better than politics. That's what politics was invented for, to avoid confrontation. We are convincing, persuading, saying that the best way to face the migration phenomenon is through cooperation for development.
El que se pueda ayudar a países de Centroamérica.
That is, being able to help Central American countries. We're also able to support Mexico, for Mexico to be supported as well, but mainly Central America, so that we can promote productive activities, for there to be jobs.
Muchos desconocen de que
Many people do not know that the biggest flow of migrants, the highest number of people passing through Mexico, they come from Central America and from countries that, due to various special circumstances, are going through an economic crisis, lack of job opportunities.
que por circunstancias especiales tienen crisis.
There's violence in those countries. And migration from Mexico to the United States has fallen. And it will continue falling increasingly with time. What we have been seeing in recent times is growth of Central American migration. So then what are we recommending? Development.
Desarrollo en Centroamérica.
On Friday, as you know, Guatemala agreed to a safe third country agreement to do with those people you were talking about. So it will now, when people from countries like Honduras or El Salvador seek asylum, they have to seek asylum in Guatemala first rather than going to America. Would you ever let Mexico agree to the same?
Nosotros no. Hemos aceptado.
We wouldn't. We are enforcing a program to reduce the number of migrants, with protection for those that are coming into Mexico, through more surveillance systems, according to our legislation, and also protecting human rights, respecting the human rights of migrants. And yes, we have mobilized the National Guard. because it was a necessity. We already had that plan since before the threat of tariffs. We are now attending to the problem of insecurity and violence through the creation of this National Guard. Because before, in the Constitution, we were not allowed for the Navy and the Army to participate in public security work. So we went through a constitutional reform, passed almost unanimously by all of the political parties of Mexico.
La Guardia Nacional puede, constitucionalmente,
the National Guard may, constitutionally now, help us to control migration flows with human rights.
Con derechos humanos y
and the results have been good. Although I insist the best is to look into the causes of this.
La gente
People do not migrate because they want to. They do it because of need. I have a dream that I want to turn into a reality. The day will come during my administration in which Mexicans will not be going to work to the United States anymore, because Mexicans will have work and they will be happy where they're born.
donde nació.
When you were interviewed by Bloomberg in 2017, you accused Donald Trump of the quotation was having a campaign of hatred against immigrants. He does not want Mexican immigrants in America. Do you still believe that?
Yo creo que
I think that, as we normally say, he has been doing a lot less of that now. When I was in the United States, this was a different discourse. It was more of an anti-Mexican discourse. But now, President Trump is more moderate.
en
He's more
cuanto
moderate with Mexican immigrants, you think?
sí,
Yes, yes.
es notorio.
This is something noteworthy, and we are grateful to him for that.
Do you think it is that interest rates are now a problem to growth? They are too high.
Sí, pero mire,
Yes, but look, I'm respectful of the autonomy of the central bank.
Can we look at the Mexican economy? You talked about the Mexican economy. You are doing very well as president. You have a 70% approval rate. But in the end, a lot depends on the economy. And you were hoping for the economy to grow at 4%. And this week, there are worries that it may go into recession. You can see consumer spending isn't very high, industrial output isn't very high. Do you think Mexico will go into recession this year?
no. Vamos bien.
No, we're doing fine. We're doing fine and doing well.
No está creciendo,
The economy is not growing as we would want it to grow. But on the other hand, there are no risks of recession. And we have other indicators as well that show that the economy is fine. For instance, the peso has been strengthened. This is the currency with the highest strength and level in the world. There are indicators like the inflationary indicator, for instance. It is lower now than last year. And something which is very important, salaries.
Este año
This year, the minimum wage increased 16%. This had not happened in 36 years.
en los 36 años
So in the 36 years of the neoliberal politics, 2% economic growth We are saying 4% in this 6-year administration. And technicians may say, how can you go from 2% to 4% in Mexico?
Es que antes del periodo neoliberal, durante 50 años,
Well, before the neoliberal period, for 50 years, before 1983, since the Mexican Revolution, since the 40s of last century until 1983, we grew at 6% a year.
5-6% anual.
5% or 6% a year. The Mexican miracle in the economy. That's what we want.
Eso es lo que queremos ahora.
Can you have a Mexican miracle with interest rates at 8.25%? I know you have been very good at not interfering in the central bank, but with interest rates at 8.25%, that is much higher than other countries. It is much more difficult. Do you think it is that interest rates are now a problem to growth? They are too high.
Sí, pero mire.
Yes, but look, I'm respectful of the autonomy of the central bank. I would like the Central Bank of Mexico, but one thing is what's to be desired and a different thing what's possible. I would like the central bank not only to work on controlling inflation, but for it to be thinking about growth as well.
En el Banco de México están cuidando más.
They're more cautious about inflation. This is not a bad thing. No, this is not the wrong thing to do. But it's important to lower the rates to encourage growth.
Ese tema se lo dejamos al Banco de México porque
this is an issue that I'm leaving for the central bank to decide. Because we trust we're not just going to be able to grow, but also to develop.
Crecimiento es hacer riqueza.
Growth is creating wealth, but not necessarily distributing wealth. Development is growing and distributing wealth. So our administration, our government, what it is now doing better than before is distributing income.
Entonces, aunque el crecimiento,
although growth is scarce, little growth, there's a better distribution of wealth. That is, there's more well-being.
When most people from the left come to power, they tend to spend money. And what has happened with you is you have come in and you have followed policies of austerity. And some of your critics say, if you want to distribute wealth, the government should pay more. And they say that you care too much about the surplus. And that is one reason why the economy is not growing. You have cut government expenditure. Do you accept that?
Es que ese es el nuevo paradigma.
Well, that's the new paradigm. I'm writing a book that will be called The Immoral Economy. The first problem of Mexico is corruption.
Ese era el principal problema. Porque ahora
that was the main problem, because now I can tell you that today there's no corruption that's tolerated, top to bottom corruption.
Arriba es
It's a matter of reducing salaries and expenditure to increase salaries and wages and support for those that are in the bottom ranking levels of society. Never had so much money been allocated for the poor as now in Mexico.
No puede haber gobierno rico con pueblo pobre.
You cannot have a rich government with poor people. So we don't want the budget to be staying within the government structure.
Que se dispersen recursos, que se trasladen recursos.
For the budget to be dispersed and resources, for it to be transferred into resources for Mexicans, especially for the poor Mexicans.
Y esto hacerlo también sin deuda.
And To do this as well with no debt, without increasing taxes, without creating new taxes. Because in the left, the idea was that taxes had to be created, to be increased.
Yo no creo que eso en México.
I do not believe that in Mexico it's necessary.
Creo que lo fundamental, John,
I believe the fundamental thing, John, the fundamental issue here, if you tell me, for instance, tell me in one phrase, what is the plan? I would answer you, doing away with corruption.
Acabar con la corrupción.
What do you say to foreign investors who are watching this? Can they trust you not to intervene again in the economy?
Que no vamos a intervenir, que los contratos.
We're not going to be intervening. Mexico continues being a very attractive country for investment, and there is the rule of law that didn't exist before.
There is another thing which investors worry about. They look at Mexico and they accept you are fighting corruption. They accept that you are keeping the peso strong. But they also worry about the interventions you have done, which are more like left-wing ones. You know, you came in and you stopped the airport. You came in and you cancelled the oil drilling auctions. Now you're talking about gas auctions also being cancelled. Is that, what do you say to foreign investors, especially foreign investors who are watching this? Can they trust you not to intervene again in the economy?
Que no vamos a intervenir, que los contratos.
We're not going to be intervening. Contracts are being respected. That we're not going to be committing any type of abuse, that we are respecting, and that we need foreign investment.
Que el caso del aeropuerto tuvo que ver.
That the case of the airport had to do with corruption, because they wanted to build the new international airport over a lake.
En un lago, es la parte de la ciudad.
This is the part of Mexico City, of the Valley of Mexico, that's sinking more than any other part. You can, of course, build an airport in the ocean, but it's very costly to build an airport in the ocean. So it was that quality works with risks of it sinking, with overpricing, very high prices, or better said, a very costly project, a onerous project.
Entonces dijimos no.
So we said no. But that doesn't mean stopping growth and progress.
Primero, hubo arreglo con todos.
First of all, we reached an agreement with all of them. We said we're not going to be owing 1 peso to any of the investors,
Inversionistas.
whether they are shareholders, those who bought the bonds, and the contracting companies. All of them are being paid. That's the first thing. The second thing is that we're going to be building the new airport and the military base of Santa Lucia. Do you know how much we're going to be saving because of this decision? 100 billion pesos.
Are you going to allow more auctions? Will you allow the auctions in oil drilling, but will they come back this year?
Sí.
So you want to have oil drilling
Sí es
auctions
posible,
this year?
nada más que tienen que haber rendimientos.
Yes, it is possible, except that we have to have returns. You know what they did? There was a reform, the energy reform, 4 years ago. They said that foreign investment would be coming to Mexico.
De que iba a llegar inversión extranjera, dieron contratos, 107 contratos, para
So they gave out these contracts, 107 of them, to extract oil.
tenían proyectado,
They were projecting, they spoke about, and they put it in writing in the considerations for the energy reform that by now we would be producing 3 million barrels of oil a day.
de petróleo. ¿Sabes cuánto
Do you know how much we're producing now?
después de que entregaron
After the contracts, we're already granted 1,680,000 barrels, 1,680,000 of the 3 million they said.
entregaron los contratos?
So they granted the contracts. How many barrels of oil have been extracted with the contracts until now? 10,000 barrels. So then what am I telling the businessmen with those contracts? We're going to respect them. We're going to honor them. They're not going to be cancelled. But we cannot convene new rounds to grant new contracts if we have no results.
También te aclaro
And let me also clarify to you that there is a plan to recover PEMEX production. This is a successful plan.
ya estamos trabajando
We're already working in 22 oil fields.
de que ya para finales de este año vamos a empezar a producir más
We are sure that by the end of this year, we're going to start producing more oil. And we're going to recover and rescue the oil industry.
industria petrolera.
Your finance minister, Arturo Herreras, people say, or that we understand, that he wants to use some of the money from the oil rainy day fund. He wants to use some of the money from there to buy PEMEX bonds, which would be a way of helping PEMEX's balance sheet and improving it. Do you support that? That would be another thing to add stability to PEMEX.
No quiero yo crear
I do not want to create any motive of instability. If we use that fund, some might think that there's a crisis, and this may affect economic and financial stability.
se puede pensar
In this sense, I want to act in a conservative manner. There is no need to use that fund. Mexico continues being a very attractive country for investment, and there is the rule of law that didn't exist before. In the past, it was the rule of everything that was crooked, but now this is the rule of law. And legislation, the laws, are respect. There's no authoritarianism, and the executive branch is not the power of powers like before. The one in command in everything in Mexico used to be the president, always in command. But this is not the case anymore. Although this is a presidentialist regime, we are respectful of autonomy of the legislative and the judicial branches, and this did not happen before in Mexico.
President Obrador, thank you very much for talking to
John.
Bloomberg. Thank you very much for your time.
John, muchas gracias, muchas gracias.
Thank you.